On a Sunday morning in November, a group of college students breached a diplomatic compound. Over the next 444 days, their actions would consume the American news cycle and stall U.S. foreign policy. On November 4, 1979, roughly 400 Iranian students gathered outside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. Women in the crowd pulled heavy metal bolt cutters from beneath their hijabs, snapping the chains on the front gates. The crowd surged inside. The American diplomatic personnel working inside the compound were suddenly prisoners. They were bound, blindfolded, and paraded in front of angry crowds. Over the coming months, they would face solitary confinement and psychological pressure. The immediate trigger for the assault came from Washington. 2 weeks earlier, President Jimmy Carter allowed Iran's deposed monarch, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, to enter the United States to receive medical treatment for cancer. To the Iranian students, Carter's medical exemption looked like a political maneuver. They feared the United States was actively plotting to reinstall the Shah and overturn their recent populist revolution. The embassy takeover was a calculated move. By holding American diplomats as leverage against U.S. foreign policy, these students launched a standoff that would last over a year. To understand the rage driving the events of 1979, we have to pause the clock and look back to 1953. That year, the CIA and British intelligence orchestrated a coup to remove Iran's democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. In his place, the United States supported the Shah as an absolute monarch. Over the next quarter century, America sold the Shah's regime billions in military equipment and helped train SAVAK, the state-secret police force that routinely imprisoned and tortured political dissenters. Decades of this Western-backed administration fueled deep resentment across the country. That anger eventually erupted into the 1979 Islamic Revolution, a massive populist uprising led by the exiled cleric Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. As the hostage crisis dragged into its first few months, American television networks rarely mentioned this history of 1953. Instead, the nightly news often framed the embassy takeover as an act of unprovoked radicalism. Network anchors transformed 52 diplomatic personnel into a nightly, personalized American tragedy. Broadcasts featured weeping mothers and spouses, driving a fierce nationalistic response across the country. Citizens tied yellow ribbons around oak trees to show solidarity with the captives. Meanwhile, inside the embassy, the hostages were enduring solitary confinement and intense psychological stress, including mock executions. The media's focus on immediate, high-stakes drama over historical context established a narrative of unprovoked radicalism, one that distanced the American public from the political origins of the crisis. By day 172, April 1980, diplomacy had failed. Seeking to end the stalemate, President Carter authorized Operation Eagle Claw, a high-stakes military rescue mission. This animated map shows the proposed flight path for the rescue. The plan relied on launching exactly 8 heavy-lift helicopters from an aircraft carrier in the Indian Ocean, flying them to a remote Iranian staging area called Desert 1. Data showed these helicopters had a fleet-wide capability rate of 74%. By launching only 8 aircraft to meet a minimum requirement of 6, planners unknowingly accepted a 35% probability that the mission would fail before reaching the hostages. The math caught up to them in the desert. Mechanical failures and severe dust storms disabled 3 of the helicopters, forcing an immediate abort. During the withdrawal, a helicopter collided with a transport plane, sparking a fire that killed 8 American servicemen. Operation Eagle Claw cost 8 lives and left the hostages stranded. The disaster signaled the mechanical limits of American hard power to the world, damaging the Carter administration's credibility and prolonging the crisis in Tehran. As the clock pushed past day 300, the geopolitical landscape fractured. The deposed Shah died in Egypt, and neighboring Iraq launched a massive military invasion into Iran. Tehran suddenly needed an end to the hostage crisis to focus on a full-scale war. Through back-channel diplomacy mediated by Algeria, the 2 nations drafted the Algiers Accords. This set of brokered agreements paved the way for the hostages' release, in exchange for unfreezing billions of dollars in Iranian assets held in American banks. On day 444, January 20, 1981, the crisis ended with a final political slight. The Iranian government waited to clear the flights for takeoff until minutes after Ronald Reagan took the presidential oath of office, ensuring Jimmy Carter was denied the opportunity to welcome the hostages while in power. For the 52 hostages, the flight out of Tehran brought relief after over a year of terror. For Jimmy Carter, the failed rescue and the ongoing crisis had largely determined his loss in the 1980 election. The disaster in the desert forced a reckoning within the Pentagon. The technical failures of Eagle Claw resulted in the creation of United States Special Operations Command, or USSOCM, a unified structure designed to improve integration and coordination in high-stakes missions. Culturally, the media's relentless fixation on the crisis influenced modern American perceptions of the region. The daily broadcasts established a recurring narrative of religious extremism that continues to shape the adversarial relationship between Iran and the United States. Today, the former U.S. Embassy in Tehran operates as an anti-American museum. It stands as a physical monument to a year-long standoff, a reminder of the historical grievances that continue to distance these two nations.